then we could really skate and surf the bowls, and so we took on driveways and pools and all that, and that's kind of where it all sort of started. They crucified Jesus Christ on the cross, but they're not going to crucify me. So I copied, that's why I was the king of psych outs in the juniors. I was always psyching guys out. And he would enter the water at different places, so I would enter the water at different places. And it just picks me up and just beats the crap out of me.
Welcome to The Green Room, your backstage pass to the world of surfing. I'm your host, surf MC and commentator, Terry Tappa, diving into epic wins, crushing fails, and wild stories with surfing's biggest names. So wax up, paddle out, and join us in The Green Room, where the surf chat never goes flat. Well, 1976 was an important year for me. I was 11 years old, had done lots of swimming training, and finally Dad allowed me to go surfing by myself. I walked over to Nobby's Beach, and that first surf, I made some lifelong friends. About that time, I got my first surfing magazine. It was SW, Surfing World. And there was this big feature on this bloke, Cheyne Horan. He was kind of older than me. It seemed like heaps then. But he had the most amazing quiver of surfboards. Yellow with a red and white deck spray, and every board had the same spray. Wow. I wanted a quiver like that. But back then, one board a year if you were lucky, you know. But like most grommets might, Shane resonated with us as he was closer to our age, and we could identify him with more than the older guys like PT, Kanga and the other rippers of the time. 37 years as a competitive surfer, plus he competed on the World Championship Tour for 18 years, 20 pro wins and 12 major titles, runner-up for the world title 4 times, and in 99 he defeated Wayne Bartholomew in the final of the Quicksilver Masters World Championships. Welcome to The Green Room, Cheyne Horan. How you go, mate?
Wow, what an intro, Tappa. That was going forever. But yeah, it's been a really long career, and I feel like it's still getting better. As I'm going into the twilight sort of my age, like now I'm 64 years old, but I've kind of got an attitude now that I really want the last part of my life to be the best part.
And, mate, you're surfing really good. I've seen you surfing. And so, mate, there's a lot of 64-year-olds wish they could surf a quarter as good as you, mate. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good to be in the water. Like guys our age, every time we go out, it's a win. But I do stumble to my feet a lot now.
Yeah, me too.
Getting up. We're older and lots of there's so many people in our tribe that are over 60 that still love their surfing. But we, as we get older, we stumble up. But once you get up and start riding, it's like it's the same as it ever was.
Yeah, I found that at Raglan last month when I was at Raglan, and once I got some power under my feet, it was like, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah,
I had doubts. Hey, mate, the first time I ever saw you, I think I was about 10 years of age at Sundale Shopping Centre, the Coca-Cola skate team, mate. How did your skateboarding and all that come about?
I was so lucky to have that. Well, starting skateboarding, my brother got a paling off the back fence, basically broke it in half, and then we kind of chiseled it around with a saw, and then got a pair of roller skates, pulled them apart, and then we had our first skateboard. And I was about 5 or 6, and I used to I rolled along on my knees at first before I learnt to stand up on it. And that's how skateboarding started for me. And then getting in the skateboard team, like we had the Australian titles they were on at the Coca-Cola factory. And I won the cadets I think it was 15 and under. And from that, they formed a skateboard team. And I was a raw skateboarder. Like I had no shoes, basically homemade skateboards. My skateboard at that time that I won the Australian titles on, I made it at woodwork at school, and we just got the urethane, the urethane wheels. Like we had chalk wheels for the longest time, and they turned really good because we had new trucks from the Surfer Sam, which had these trucks that would bite and you'd go over the handlebars. And then they came up with these kind of American trucks, which you could turn and they wouldn't catch, but the wheels were sliding everywhere. And we're having major accidents, broken wrists left, right and centre. And then they came up with the urethane. And we got urethane wheels in Australia, I think, like in 73, 74. And then that just turned skateboarding around. Then we could really skate and surf the bowls, and so we took on driveways and pools and all that. And that's kind of where it all sort of started. The skateboard team that I was in with Kenny Oliver, Chris, there was John Sanderson and Robbie Bain.
Oh, Bainey was in it?
Yeah, Bainey was in it.
Wow.
So they used to fly us all around Australia to skateboard.
That would have been pretty cool. What age were you?
I was 15. That's when you saw us at the Scottsdale Shopping Centre.
Yeah, Sundale. Yeah.
So we went to all the shopping centres, Grace Brothers, all around Australia, like Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia. Townsville was as far north as we went. And it just opened up my eyes for Australia itself.
It was a bit rock star, though. You were like rock stars when you turned up, mate. I remember it was like, the crowds are huge.
Mate, the chicks were going wild. It felt like the Beatles. It was just like that. Chicks are going wild. The guys were loving all the skateboarding. And we were just creating everything, just making up moves and created a skateboard show that was fantastic. And everybody loved the show. We were always getting really good reviews and stuff. But as a 15-year-old kid, I used to have a paper run, right? And I'd get like $8 a week. We were getting $15 a day.
Oh, right? Mate, that's where the money was.
The coin was there, and we'd go to the different places. By the end of the weekend, making $45 from doing something that we loved to do, traveling Australia and skating. And I just was rolling in it.
Those $15 a day, mate.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, were you surfing at the same time?
Surfing at the same time. I was. I started surfing when I was about 10. My parents, we used to live in Petersham, and then my parents just wanted to get us out. There's a super bad element in Petersham of like a real criminal element, and we were really close to it. All our friends were starting to go that way, and I was only like 9 years old or something. And so Mum moved to the beach, and I didn't want to go. I can remember trying to run out at the back fence where we'd taken the paling years before, right? That was our out the back gate hole, right? By then we had 2 palings off because we'd gone through a few skateboards, and that was our way out the back fence. And I can remember my mum grabbing me by the scruff of the neck and just pulling me back out. I did not want to leave Petersham. Froze me in
Not to go to bloody Bondi, mate.
No, Bronte.
Oh, Bronte.
Right.
Bronte. Oh,
Yeah.
God, that's even better.
So she throws me in the car. We're off to the beach. And now I'm at the beach. I don't know anyone. I'm absolutely hating it. I've got all my friends over there. But within a day or 2 days, I just found my way there. I used to go down the beach. Then I did fish at that time. I started fishing when I was about 7. And so I started fishing, and I was watching the guys surf, and I just fell in love with it. And to start surfing, right, I worked for this guy. His name was Dave Brown. You ever heard of him?
Dave Brown. There's lots
Football
of Dave
player?
Brown, yeah. Oh, yeah. They played for Queensland, got his jaw broken by...
No, younger.
Different one.
Dave Brown was in the 30s, highest point scorer. I didn't know any of this at the time. He was the highest point scorer in rugby league, didn't have a hair on his body. He had some sort of weird growth thing that had no hair on his body. And I never really noticed that because he had a hat and he was old. When I was working for him, he was about 70. But he used to have do you remember the rubber floaties?
Yeah.
So he had the rubber floaties and he used to rent them out. And he'd say, oh, look, number 34's got to come in now. What I would do is I would swim out to the guy and say, hey, do you want to hang on to the board or do you want to give it up now because your time's up? And the guys would either or. And if they said time's up, I'd say, okay, just give me the floaty. I'd grab it, surf in on the floaty, and take it to him and go back out. And I did that all day. That's how I learned to surf.
Oh, that's pretty fun. Mate, like when you were doing the skateboarding, were you competitively surfing as well? Like, did you compete in both surfing and skateboarding?
Yeah, I was. I was surfing in basically the juniors, and at the end of the year that I won the Australian title for skateboarding, at the end of that year, I won the Australian title for surfing.
So you're dual Australian skateboard and surfboard title.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Same year.
Yeah. That's
an
unreal.
amazing year.
Well, mate, while we're talking competition, I just checked out something, and this one, 78, the Stubbies. The heat against Peter Druin. Now, I remember Peter Druin, right? He brought in man-in-man surfing. I remember reading the paper when I was a kid. He wanted to actually have Biffo in heats. Mate, and I heard that heat was a little bit of an exciting one. You were only a young bloke too.
Yeah, and I did know Peter just not very well, but I did know him. And in the heat, he really turned it on me. Like, I think I was 16 or 17. I was 17 at the time. And he really turned it on me. Like, he pulling that he wanted to have a blue in the water, and was up in a heat, up in my face, splashing water, screaming at me, like really trying to turn it on. And I had PT as my caddy at the time, and he's in the water, and he started laughing. He's going, "Oh, trying that one, that old one, Druin," like, you know, screaming it out. And it sort of rattled me a little bit, but we had to cop a lot of that in football. So growing up, because I played football for Bondi United, so, you know, we copped a lot of guys trying to rattle you and you know, pull the aggression string, which we always knew that if they're pulling the aggression string, they don't have the talent string.
Yeah.
Right, so just keep going, surging forward with your talent. So anyway, that's what happened, and then he just spurred me on.
How old was Peter then compared to you? Like,
he would have been in his 30s.
Oh, wow, so he was like a full man, really, yeah.
You know what amazes me about Peter is I've learned a lot more about him. He's an amazing individual. He's one of Australia's best ever surfers.
Oh, totally.
And at the year that he put on the Stubbies, right, he travelled, so he didn't go in the Stubbies because he was the director.
Yeah.
And then he went on the world tour. When he got into Hawaii, he was coming third in the world. That's after skipping the first contest.
Wow.
Right? And then in Hawaii, the Duke contest was a contest that you had to be invited to, and he wasn't, right? And Peter was such an actor, but he stood up at the thing. I'll never forget. I was invited to it, and I was a young guy, right? Oh, no, I wasn't invited to that one. I got invited in the next year, I think. But this year, that for Peter, he was coming third, and I was there with Ian, PT, and the bronzed Aussies. So, and then he stands up at in the front of everyone in Hawaii, and he goes, by Lord, they crucified Jesus Christ on the cross, but they're not going to crucify me.
Well, he did go to NIDA, didn't he? He was a graduate of NIDA as well, and a solicitor, and made an amazing, talented man who I think doesn't get enough credit from the world of surfing for what he's done. You know, he brought surfing to China as well.
That he did do that, back to the other one is that. Had he gone in the Stubbies, which he would have done really well at his home break, and had he gone in that thing, he probably would have won that world title. Sean Thompson won the world title.
77,
Yeah, so Sean won it that year. Now, you talk about Peter being an actor. The most famous time for Peter that I just thought was absolutely brilliant, we're in Japan, and they're doing like a call-up for the... it was for the presentation, and he's hit the ground having a heart attack, right? Everyone's like, Pete's having a heart attack. They've got the whole place is like freaked out.
Yeah.
And they're calling the medical in and all that sort of stuff. And then Pete stands up and bows. It was all a big act. I've seen him I got 1,000 stories of him doing shit like that.
Oh, it's crazy. I remember like when I think I was 15 or 16 and surfing at Burleigh with him. It was hard to be in the water with because he wanted every wave, but God, he could still surf at a high level. At what I don't think he would have been in his 40s maybe then or something, and he was surfing at a really high level.
He was. And look, I did a podcast with him 5 years ago, and I think the best thing I got out of that podcast is I just said, look, what do you like about your surfing? And he said, well, I think it really comes down to how you actually connect with the wave and how you feel on the wave and your connection with the wave. And I just thought that was so good. And then from that day, I sort of started to get a better connection with the ocean and the way you board and the way you're actually connecting and flowing with the whole of surfing.
Is it amazing how someone can say something to you and it clicks? Like when I think I was about 12 or 13 or something. I got this barrel at Burleigh, stand-up barrel. I travelled for ages.
First one ever.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And it was like, it was stand-up barrel. It was probably only 3 foot, but, you know. And I didn't come out, but I travelled for ages to come up going, woo, I was stoked. And Joe Engel's paddling out, and Joe goes, Terry, nice barrel, mate. He goes, but next time, keep pointing that nose at the hole. And that just went, just locked in my head, and still to this day. But the funny one was I was at his wake with Thornton Philander, and I told Thornton the story. He goes, yeah, he told me that about sunset, but I said, what part of the hole do I aim for, Joe?
Yeah, because it's a big hole.
Yeah, it's a damn big hole. Mate, another contest I want to talk about, that surf that you won, Surf About 79, when they moved it. That must have been an amazing thing. Like, that was fully televised and everything on Channel 9.
Yeah, it was, and we were trying to get surfing in the mainstream, trying to get it on TV. And so we're all surfers were aware of it, and we'd work with the media as the best we could in any way we could, stories, radio, TV. They were doing a documentary on the whole event, which was major in surfing. No one had ever really done that. And the surf was flat. Every day we're turning up, and Narrabeen is 1 foot, and we've already sort of struggled through a few rounds, and I think we're up to like the round of there was probably 16 of us left in the contest, or 8 or whatever, and anyway. It's just flat. So tomorrow's going to be flat. They're not going to call the contest on. So I've gone out with a mate of mine, Adrian, and we're out, and I'm not really drinking, but I'm out just having some fun.
Yeah.
And then Adrian comes up and goes, someone's just given me a message that your mum's just been trying to get hold of you. They're having the surf about tomorrow morning at Bell's.
Bells, and you're out on town.
Yeah, and I got no idea. How am I getting to Bells?
Where's your boards?
I'm in a nightclub. How am I going to Bells tomorrow, right? And so I fly home. Mum says, yeah, they've been trying to contact you for hours. You got to be at the airport at 4 o'clock in the morning. They're private chartering down to Bells, and then they're going to have the contest at Bells. Bells is going to have waves.
Yeah.
This is my mum. My mum's so in tune with surfing. It's like,
but there's no mobile phones then. That's the thing, mate. There's only the one on the wall.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we fly down. We're coming over the hill in the bus at Bells, and it's like 8 to 10 feet. Perfect Bells. It would have been solid 8 foot. But for me at that time, I was thinking it's like 8 to 10 feet. We come over the hills, the whole bus erupts. It's got like Dane Keelower, Buzzy, MR, Sean, Larry, Blair, everybody, the whole thing erupts, right? Just like surfers on steroids, right? Yeah. So that moment then was just amazing. So then we pull up, we get like a 15-minute surf, and the contest is on. So anyway, turns out I had one of my greatest heats in that with MR. We were in the quarterfinals together. I just hit my straps, got tubed, did everything, just was in the zone. And it was a close heat. He was in the zone too. He just won the Bells the week before at Bells, right? And he was brilliant at Bells. And come in, and there's a scene in the documentary where they're reading out the results, and MR still thinks he's got a chance of winning it, and I thought I'd won it. But I'd beaten him many times, and the result had gone the other way. And I just went, I'm just there going, oh, I know I won that heat. Yeah. And he's right behind me. And they just go, and in first place, Cheyne Horan. And I just go, yes! Right? And he's right. I don't know he's right behind me, but the filming, they've got me and him in the shot. Yeah. And you just see his head drop. And, that's not a cool thing. But at that time, I was so stoked because we were in such a giant rivalry to be number one, to be the best. And we came from two different genres. Like I come from a skateboarding genre. He comes from a longboard, surfing family.
So you would have never surfed a longboard, would you?
Never.
No.
Never. Not until I was 88. Which I've still got to get there. Yeah, I've ridden longboards.
Yeah, but I mean like as a kid growing up.
Mate, I never rode longboards. I rode a longboard when I was about 13, the thing nosedived, nearly killed me. I never got on them for another 10 years.
Yeah, well, I started on a 5.6. That's like me, like same thing.
That was our genre. Yeah, we started on small boards.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, mate. Another one I want to ask you about. Bell's 84, mate. What a win that was. But, mate, that was the start of the wing kill with Ben Lex and the staff in. Now, what I want to know is, because I tried to look up when you actually first surfed it, was Bell's the first time you brought it out? Or was it, you did it before?
Yeah, I had it making the fin. We started making the fin in 83.
Yep.
I'd been to see Ben, met Ben and talked about, and Ben taught me so much. The first time I'd ever heard the word hydrodynamics, and I'd never ever seen hydrodynamics ever mentioned in a surfing magazine, and I've read them all my life. And then he just started talking about hydrodynamics and then taught me all about hydrodynamics, about how the water flows, how objects can go faster and slower, and control and speed and drag and lift, and all these different components of design. And working with him was just like, I say Ben Lexon probably taught me the most about hydrodynamics and surfboard design than anyone. And I've worked with the best shapers in the world. Jeff McCoy would have to be the next person, then Chris Brock after that. And then there's a few more like Our American, all those guys.
So when you got to Bell's, though, because everybody was on thrusters, or the first contest you surfed on, what was the reaction from all the other blokes? Did they go like, what, WTF? Like, what's this guy doing?
Yeah. Well, I did the same thing as the Australia too. I covered up the keel.
Oh, did you? What, you had to cover over the bottom of the
fin? Yeah, I had to cover it up until I got to the water's edge, and then boom, I'm in the water. So I did that for a long time. That would
have been a good psych out too. Would have had people going like, what?
It was. It does work. And the board, single fin, the star fin is the fastest fin in surfing. There is. I've ridden all kinds of fins: single fins, quads, 20s, thrusters. Now, most maneuverable, we can start to go somewhere else. But so anyway, at Bell's, the lead up to Bell's, right, is where I've got Claw, the owner of Rip Curl, has taken Tom Curran, Wayne Lynch, and myself on a trip down south into Wayne's whole world.
Oh, wow.
Right, which was just amazing, because I'd been on a couple of trips with Wayne before, and they were always great. So we're going through cow fields and to look at waves, and they were perfect. No, I know a better spot than this, and we go to another spot and it'd be perfect. And anyway, the Peter Crawford was taking the photos for Rip Curl advertising. And we had a really good session at Port Campbell, where the waves were like 10 to 12, could have been 15 at the biggest, Yeah. Wayne was riding like an 8.6. I think Tom was on a 7.2. I was on a 6.8. And we had to jump off this giant cliff, like into the water. Yeah. And so we jump in, we surf and stuff. And then after the surf session, it's like, how do you get in?
Yeah, how did you get in?
So I had to paddle along this, and the water is so deep, all you're thinking about is great whites.
Oh, yeah, I imagine, yeah.
Your hair's standing on end. And I've got this mate of mine, Simon Buttonshaw, who used to be the artist for Quicksilver. He did all the all their art, like Echo Beach, War Paint. He's the one that created it. Great mate of mine. So anyway, he's up the top of the cliff, running along the cliff, because I got no idea, how do I get in? And he's going, look, just hug the thing. And I am absolutely shitting myself.
Oh, you would be.
Like, the water's like dark blue. Wayne's told me the story about he saw a shark in the middle of this bay, Port Campbell, that had a head on it like the front of a single-decker bus.
Nice thing to tell you as you're paddling out.
Yeah,
mate.
It did. That's when
Specky did that to me at Stratty.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? When you go and surfing just thinking about sharks.
Yeah. Great.
So anyway, I hug them out and we get in, and then we spend the night in the Port Campbell pub. And I'd purposely, like, we'd had some surfs in smaller surf, and I'd purposely just been holding back with Tom Curran.
Yeah.
I hadn't been opening right up. And I just kept thinking to myself, I'm going to let it all go when I'm in the event. I'll let it all go when I'm in the event. Yeah. So Peter Crawford comes up to me and he goes, Cheyne, you're going to have to really up your game if you're going to get anywhere near Curran. He's blowing you out of the water. All right?
Yeah.
And I'm still not letting the cat out of the bag.
Yeah,
I'm keeping that lid on it. Anyway, it turns out I get Curran in the quarterfinals at Bell's. And I'm the big psych-out guy. Like, I was big on playing the mind game on the beach.
Well, like Slater does sort of thing, kind of.
Big time.
Yeah.
And I've helped, Kelly and I have talked a lot, and I've helped Kelly a lot with the mind game on how to psych guys out and how to be in the right frame of mind after you've laid it on them, how to get back in the zone so you're not psyching yourself out.
Yep.
Right? So anyway, Tom Curran and I, Tom Curran's with his wife up on the point, spocking the surf. It's not long till our heat. So I see him and I just get right in his sight, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just there and I'm looking at him and he's sort of acting like I'm not there, right? And I know he knows I'm there, right? So I look away for 1 second and I look back, he's gone. He's on the move. He's playing the game with me.
Yeah.
Right? We're both playing this mind game. So we get out in the water and we have a heat. We're having the heat and I get this one great wave and I just coming around the corner and I go back up into the pocket of it on the cutback and I get tubed on my way coming around in the cutback, right? And I come out of the tube as he's paddling out. And I thought, that's got him.
Yeah.
Right? I thought at that point I've got him here. And then I went on to win that heat. And then the next semi-final was sort of a bit of a one-way street.
And this is all on the staff in on the wing
cam? All on the staff in,
yep.
All on the new board, all on the Ben Lexon design board.
Yep.
Which was a revolutionary design.
Yeah.
100%. All boards today have lots of the pieces of that board in them still today.
Oh, cool.
Right? And so then I get the heat with Tom Carroll. And I'd had a heat with Tom Carroll in California where he kept sucking me into the shore and then he'd scrape to the corner and get the corner. Right? And I thought, how did he get me there? Like, he got me in this heat. He got this wave.
He's the biggest hassler, Tom, isn't he?
He's a big hassler. And he's good at the game. He's great at the game, right? So he got me at this one time, and I thought, how can I get out of that? So we're in the final. It's a best of three final, and I've got two of the best waves. I'm totally in rhythm. I've got like two 8.5s. He's got like two 7s.
I've seen that footage of that, and you were flying across the wave. Everything seemed to go your way.
Yeah. Then it comes down to like, I get like a third wave or something. It's really close, but I got my third wave and I'm totally in rhythm. I'm getting the best waves and I'm in the rhythm. Then this wave comes and Tom's doing it to me and I know he's doing it to me. It's my priority.
Yeah.
And Tom's sucked me in onto the reef, right? But I'm not sucked in this time.
Yeah.
Right? I'm ready for him. So anyway, he paddles over, the set comes, he paddles to the corner. As he paddles to the corner, I paddle up into the lip and I stand up in the lip and I just drop in and he gets this interference call. Right?
Yeah.
It was my priority.
Yeah.
He was mucking around with me and I thought, you're not going to do it again, bruh. So bang, I nailed him on that. And then I go out and I catch one more wave. It's the best of four.
Yeah.
I caught 3 plus that wave. And then Tom went back out and he caught my rhythm, which was his best wave of the heat, which was his last wave. And when I come in onto the beach, my mate says, what are you doing? There's 20 minutes left in the heat. And I've come in, I've already nailed it.
Yeah.
Right? I come in and I go, no, I've got him. He goes, you got 20 minutes? He goes, I said, and he's going, you sure you're right? And I said, I'm right. And so anyway, I win that heat, all right? Yeah. And, people might think it got one on interference. It never got one on interference. No. So I blitzed him on wave rhythm and the board was just superior.
Yeah, because I've seen that footage, and you're just flowing, and because it's a little Rincon, isn't it? That
was the last heat.
The last
heat was on Rincon. This one was in the bowl.
Oh, well, that was in the bowl.
In the bowl. Yeah. So he's done that, pushed me inside and over. The last one was Rincon in the thing, and then Rincon. To me, I thought Tom was stretched to try and get around the sections, and I was just sitting on the pedal, and it just took off, and it was a pretty easy final.
Hey, mate, in priority back then, did you have to paddle around the priority buoy for that, or was it just awarded like it is today back then?
Yeah, in that one, it was awarded.
Oh, right, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I had lost a few heats where I didn't paddle around the buoy because I didn't believe in it. Yeah. So I just sort of get in rhythm, but some guys would get around the buoy when it was your turn and get back, and then, then you'd get beaten. Yeah. I had that happen a few times.
Oh, cool. So that would have been a pretty, winning bells is probably one of the ultimates, isn't it?
It is for an Aussie kid. Yeah. When you first go down to bells at 15, when I first went down, it's the ultimate to win bells. And, people come to my house, I've still got the bell. And, I had a friend of mine who was dying of cancer a couple of years ago, and Dave Fraser, and I couldn't find the bell, and I knew it was somewhere in the house, in the thing, and I looked around, and he goes, "Oh, get the bell out!" Like he had a few days to live. Yeah. Get the bell, and I said, "Oh, mate, we're walking, and I've got him on FaceTime. We walk into the garage, and I said, "Oh, I think it could be behind here." So I pull this piece of wood back in the garage, and there's the bell. Oh, so I start, when you pass a beer through the phone, that. So I had him ringing the bell.
Ah, that's cool.
And he was so stoked. Like him and his son we were laughing our heads off and just having such a good time. And that was like in his last couple of days.
Mate, I just found out something today. I saw Mr. Young Dave Davidson down the point, one of the older ITN Bondi boys, and he said for me to ask you about the MP singlet swap. The singlet swap. You had a heat against MP and you told him he had the wrong singlet on or something.
No, it's not a singlet swap. What it is, I was 16. This is a great story. I've told this a few times. Most people will know this story. But I was 16 and MP was the king of psych outs and he was my hero. So I that's why I was the king of psych outs in the juniors. I was always psyching guys out. And he would enter the water at different places, so I would enter the water at different places. And so then we got this heat, and he's hassling the shit out of me, like just won't give me an inch. But I'm still going okay. I'm not giving him an inch, right? I'm actually got the inside on him. I'm taking waves, and I'm doing quite well, right? And he's going okay too. But it was only like 1 to 2 foot narrowband. Yeah. Right? And that's when it was points for manoeuvres.
Oh, yeah, the more manoeuvres you did, the more points you got?
Yeah. Yeah. And it was only in 2 foot surf, and I was 16 years old and light as a feather.
Yeah.
But he was still ripping. Yeah. And anyway, he gets this wave. I get this, I paddle for this wave, and he hassling me, and I get it, and I go. And he kind of crumbled it a little bit, and he crumbles it, and then I'm paddling out, and he gets another wave, and he rips on it, and he's paddling out. He was the fastest paddler in surfing, and he's paddling out, and the guys on the announcing are saying, "Oh, great wave by Michael Peterson," and this, and I said, "Hey, Michael, they've just asked you to paddle in because you got the interference with me," and he's going, "What?" Because I knew he wouldn't really listen to what was going on, but I was, and then they go, "Oh, that last wave, Mike Peterson was a great wave." And I said, "Look, they just said it again. They said, 'Hey, Michael,' they said, if you..."
And you're a 16-year-old kid doing this.
16-year-old kid with the king. Yeah. And I go, if you, they just said, if you don't paddle in, they're going to disqualify you. So he looks at me and he has these mean old eyes like Michael Peterson. When he looked at you, they were lasers that went straight through your brain. And so he looks at me, he gives me the laser look, and he turns and paddles for the beach at 100 miles an hour because I know he wants to go in, fix it up, and get the last part of the heat.
Yeah.
Right? So he's steaming in, and he's like 2 feet from shore. And I said, hey, Michael. And he looks around at me with the lasers, and I said, they didn't really tell you to paddle in. And he just...
He must have wanted to kill you.
Turns around, he's paddling out, and I just get the bomb, right? Just rubbing it into him, right? So then the contest finishes, and we both sort of did all right. I think I finished 4th or 7th or something like that. I think I was 4th in the world at that stage at 16. Anyway, we're at the Coca-Cola presentation, which was that contest.
Yeah.
And I'm in the bathroom and I'm washing my hands and stuff, and the door sort of slams in the thing, and I just turn around and there's Michael, and he's got the lasers back on.
And you're 16, remember?
Mate, I'm weighing myself. So he looks at me, and he's tall, and I'm just this little skinny kid, and he comes up, and I'm just shitting myself, and he walks up to me right in my face, like I could smell his breath.
Yeah.
And he goes, and he grabs me on the stomach so hard and just squeezes it. It was hurting like shit. I was going, but I didn't let out a bellow, and I'm looking at him straight in the eyes. I almost got tears in my eyes, and he goes, welcome to the big time.
That's cool.
And that's the day I knew I was pro.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Now, mate, to go on a different tangent, shaping. You're doing a lot more shaping probably than ever in your life. When did you start shaping?
I started shaping when I did my first board when I was 13, but I consistently shaped when I was 15 with Greg Webber.
Yeah.
We used to make a lot of boards in the back of Bondi for the Bondi guys, and we were cutting into the McCoy sort of, hold, or Bondi was a McCoy place, and we were cutting into it, and Jeff was starting to feel it, and Jeff's just said to me one day, he goes, look, if you keep shaping boards for all the guys at Bondi, I won't continue to make boards, who I considered at the time the best shaper in Australia.
Well, mate, on my intro, I said that McCoy quiver. That standard spray, mate. I remember as a kid, that just really blew me away. All those boards. I think you were on the way to Hawaii, maybe, and you had must have been from 5.10 to 7.0
7, 8.
7.8. All the same spray.
Great boards, every one of them.
Yeah.
And so that's where I started, and then I really probably in the last 15 years, I've been shaping a lot of boards, because I feel like my boards are modern boards. I'm not, I do retro boards. I do my old models. I have a few old models, but I've been refining boards with Jeff McCoy, with all the best shapers in the world, because I'm a surfer who worked with the best shapers in the world. Most of the shapers have worked with the best surfers in the world.
Correct, yeah.
So it's a different thing altogether. So because I've worked with all the different shapers, I've learnt all these different things from everybody, and then morphed it together in what I call the most modern board, which at the moment is the Spitfire, and it's a bottom that I put on a board. I call it the Zyfex bottom.
Zyfex?
Yeah, and it's a combination of all this, but it's fast, it actually, you stand on it and it takes off by itself.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so
the other thing I've heard too, with Surfboard Empire, you're doing a bit of a collab with Matt Biolis, is that right?
Yeah, Matt and I are doing a board. We've done a board.
Oh, you've done a board?
Yeah, and
it's coming out soon, or?
Yeah, we did it a while ago, actually. It's about a year old now at the moment. Great collab. Working with Matt, because Matt works with all the surfers, and he works with shapers. He's worked with a lot of different shapers, and he's done a few collabs with guys, and really easy to collab with him. We took a lot of my stuff and a lot of his stuff, and it's just a great blend. And it's a board designed for an older guy to go in and just take it off the rack and say, I like this.
Yeah.
So it's not a custom board for somebody built for the particular person.
Yeah.
It's a board.
All-rounder sort of thing?
It's a kind of all-rounder. It's such a good, they feel so good. They turn super good. They got good speed. They fit everywhere. And it's like when I think of it, the good things that Matt put in it,
Yep.
right, different to what.
And so did you have to give a bit and take a bit? And I saw, was it a bit of give and take there with it?
Not really.
No?
No. Like you'd think so. You'd think, we'd squabble over a few things.
Yeah.
No, he just did things to the board.
Yeah.
And I went, that's nice. That'll do this
cool.
good and do that good. And I could see what he was putting in it and what it would do because I understand the hydrodynamics of stuff. And exactly what we're trying to make, we got.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty awesome so you can get one of those at Surfboard Empire and those blokes that want to check it out.
Yeah, that's right. Surfboard Empire has been...
Or you can get one off you.
No, well, they get these Matt Biolis's ones, you get them from Surfboard Empire.
Oh, so you just walk in there and get those,
you can't just get them from me. Like
You're all custom, aren't you?
I'm custom.
Yeah.
I do custom boards. But the, the thing about Matt Biolis, which I think is great, like people... They know Lost Surfboards, they know Mayhem, they see that, he's done all this stuff for all these young, great surfers and stuff, won world titles and won Olympic medals on his boards. But the thing I love about him is he's really helped out a lot of the old core part, including myself.
Yeah.
Right? But the core part of surfing, like guys that worked in factories and then all of a sudden their factory would close and they'd go, look, I got work for you here. You can come and glass or you can come and shape some boards or you can do things.
Oh, that's cool.
He's super cool. Like
Not leaving a soldier behind anywhere.
100%.
Yeah, that's cool.
You got it.
That's really good.
Yeah.
It's good when you see people look after other people in the industry because unfortunately sometimes in this industry it can be pretty cutthroat.
It can. And there's a lot of fatalities.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys get left behind, especially like in our sort of era, like all the pro surfers who built pro surfing and they don't, they could be a part of today's pro surfing, didn't even get a look in.
Yeah, like Peter Drawn.
Man on man, 100%. And, there's some great guys. I see guys like Robbie Page, there's Damien Hardman, all these guys. They're given little bits and pieces and they've done well along the way. But have they been offered to go in and help the WSL grow the product, which, make it better? Like we see it from the start and we can see improvements that could be done left, right and centre. I personally don't want to be jumping in the WSL and being that, but I wouldn't have mind being asked.
Yeah, or at least giving your opinion there or something. Yeah.
Just to...
Well, you did, how many, 18 years was it on tour? 18 years on tour.
At that time, I was the longest ever on tour, and I think I'd won close to the most events at that time.
Yeah. And, mate, when you got late, I forgot later, you were doing the big wave stuff as well. You still do a bit of that?
Not really.
No.
I think it, and I imagine myself, I go, but I know if I took, like I've already nearly died in giant surf.
Yeah.
At being the fittest and strongest man on earth.
Yeah.
Right? And if I came to some of those situations today, I'd be dead. There's no way I'm as fit and as strong and as healthy as I was when I was 40 years old.
Well, what year was it? You got the second biggest wave of the year or something. And
that was a rip-off.
You reckon you got the biggest?
100%.
How old were you then?
That was Jaws, and Jaws won it for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And they gave it to Mavericks.
Yeah, mate. Jaws gets way bigger than Mavericks.
Jaws was... Guys that surfed both sessions said that the one that we surfed was the bigger one.
And how old were you when you actually got that wave?
I was 40, 42. The good thing about that is because I teach surfing and I've got the surf school in Surfers Paradise, right, that my brother runs.
Yeah.
And I used to love the rush of surfing giant surf. And watching the map and I'm talking to Mike Perry, rest in peace. Yeah. Mike Perry was the best wave caller and one of the first wave callers before all the surf lines.
Using maps.
using maps, and he
Yeah.
was the best. I'd always call Mike and say, "Hey, Mike, I think there's a swell coming." I knew about the Navy maps before basically anyone because I was on internet because I knew Timothy Leary, and Timothy Leary told me about the internet and how it's going to work in the 80s before emails were in the night.
This is the Timothy Leary, the acid guy.
He told me about how the email and how that's all, or how computers are going to work and all that. So once the World Wide Web started, I did all these searches for weather maps, and I found the Navy map. No one told me about the Navy map. No one knew about it.
Because that would be the best research of anything, wouldn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
So that would tell you where the swell was doing for 7 days, the whole world map for Navy boats.
Yeah.
Right? And it was kind of like almost like you were breaking into a top secret site.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah, because US Navy, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I sort of started my following those maps. I've been following weather my whole life. So from there, it's turned into like they do the surf line and Swell Net and all those guys give out the swell reports. But Mike was the first guy who was great at it. So Mike, I'd ring up Mike and I'd say, "Hey, I'm thinking of going to this swell in wherever it was to Mexico," and he'd go, "Oh, it's going to be big, but it's going to have rain, it's going to have a bit of wind, it's not really the one you should go on." And then I ring him up and say, "This is the Jaws one," and I go, "Look, it's looking like it's going to be giant at Jaws," and he goes, "Mate, this is going to be one of the biggest ones ever, right? Weather's going to be good, wind's going to be good. Yes, go." So I'm at Surfers Paradise on the beach. It's 2 foot northerly wind slop.
Blue bottles?
Blue bottles blue bottles for as far as you can see. Right?
And then you're off to Jaws.
And so I'm got this thing where I'm off to Jaws in 2 days' time with a swell that's going to arrive the day after I arrive.
So no time to get prepared.
You get a 4-day window to really know what surf's going to do. 4 days before, you can get like a 90% call on it, right? Yeah. So 2 days I'm spending at Surfers Paradise. Next day I'm flying to Hawaii. The next day I'm surfing. And that wave that I surfed on that day is we were in a world championship tow-in contest that was the first ever.
Yep.
Right? And it had teams from all over. Where you had like a priority system where it just goes around to each tow team. And once you ride one, you go to the back of the line.
Yeah.
And I picked this wave that's just massive. And I'm dropping down the face and a chunk comes off the face and I fall and I eat shit. I grab hold of the face and I just feel it go silent and then it just picks me up and just beats the crap out of me deep in the water, right? I come up, there's another one right there, like 5 feet away, and I got no air, and I just look at the whitewater, I dive, it just drills me, right? And I have my tow partner, Robbie Seeger, comes in after that one and grabs hold of me and he was like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He just picked me up out of the water and basically held me on top of the mat behind me and wouldn't let go of my hand just in case I had no grip and just dragged me out of the break, right?
Wow.
And then in that contest, if you had a wipeout, you had to go over and see the doctor.
Oh, yeah, to make sure you're
okay to go back out.
Yeah.
So I go over to the doctor. I've got stars coming out of my eyes, right?
Yeah.
I can just see them going. Have you ever had stars?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got the stars. They're just going like this,
like the cartoons.
Yeah, and I'm saying to Robbie, just hang here for a second. Just let's do a slower board gathering and getting ready before we go to the doctor. And we go over to the doctor, and he's sitting on like a floating jetty out at Jaws. And I go up to the doctor, and I look at him, and I know I'm just wasted. And he looks at me, and he says, "You okay?" And I went, yeah, I'm okay. And he goes, "Okay, we'll get out there." I got stars flying out of my
How'd you go on the next one?
Right. Well, I got out there, and I had to wait, right, a long time to come good. which you should always, in a big wave situation, if you get nailed, you should always recover before you try and go again. Yeah. Always, or you can die easy.
Yeah.
Right? So I go back out the back, and I'm sitting there, and it's gone past my priority. Like, it's my priority, and I'm going, no, you go. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
But in the morning, I had seen that there's going to be like an hour, half an hour where there's the peak of the swell, which was going to be right around 10 o'clock-ish, right, of the day. And the contest's supposed to start at 7. I'm in the first heat. And I'm thinking, I'm going to miss this big wave. Like, I'm going to be out there from 7 to 8, and then there's 8 to 9. It's not coming till 10, so the third heat's going to get it. Because the waves were so big that day, you couldn't start. They couldn't start. They actually had us, all the big wave riders, stand together, and then the contest director says, and it's massive, like the waves are breaking into this bay where it's normally flat, where you launch your boats. The waves are 10 feet in there, which is normally flat. So we know it's giant, and no one could get out, right? So the guy says to the contest director says, look, if there's anyone who doesn't want to go out today, tell us now, put your hand up, right? And I'm at the back, and I am just going, right? I'm about to burst out laughing. Yeah. Who's going to put their hand up in amongst all the big wave riders and go, I got pink underwear on, I'm not going out.
Yeah, I've got my little girl's pants on, I haven't got my big boy's pants on.
And that went through my mind, and I just was pissing myself inside my head. So anyway, we get out there, they got a 2-hour delay. So it's coming down to nearly 10 o'clock, the end of the heat.
Yep.
And the whole horizon just lifts.
And you'd come good by then?
I'd come good by then. And I see the horizon just lift. And I said, Robbie, this is it. This was the set. It was only going to be one of these sets all day. And I've just gone, this is it. And I've got up, and as I've turned, there's a big one. The first one's the biggest one that's come through all day. Yeah. And I'm going like this, no, I want the one behind it, right? Because we do this thing where you rise up onto the top of the wave, right? Yeah. And you're eyeballing each other, you and the driver, and you're up the top, and you can go this one, or you can go, I'll go the one behind. Yeah. And I'm up on the peak of it, and I look back, and it's bigger. And I flick my finger, I want the one behind. So he just slows down and lets us come back onto that. And that's when I caught the biggest wave.
Wow.
And when I'm dropping down the face of that wave, I skipped off the face, right? And I've landed. And as I'm skipping off the face, I'm going, oh, no, not again. I thought I was gone. I went into a bunker hole in the thing. Wave had a massive bunker hole divot in it that I went into on my board, and I was crouched like King Kong, bro. Nothing was taking me down.
So your feet screwed to the board nearly, mate. Oh, that's unreal. Mate, well, let's wrap it up. That was awesome, mate. Great
right
to
on,
see
Tappa.
You, Shane.
Thank you, bro.
Hey,
and
mate,
I'll see you in the waves.
Yeah, I'll catch you in the waves.
And it was great.
No, thank you. Really enjoyed it, mate, and learned some new things. And
aloha, everyone. Take care of your brothers.
Thanks for tuning into The Green Room. A big thank you to our guests for sharing their stories and insights, our producer Sarah, and Podfire for bringing this podcast to life. Don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a review, and share The Green Room with your friends. We'll catch you next time for more conversations with the legends of surf and beyond. Until then, catch you in the waves.